Boy, I'm just failing all over the place this morning, aren't I? Yes, yes, I am. Though you should be able to at least hear me now. Oh dear. Anyhow, so basically, I've just failed all over the place. Live is hard mode. Oh dear. And what happened is every day you have to copy the new stream key. You can't just have one stream key. So when I went to copy the new stream key over, I copied it incorrectly, and I copied it incorrectly like 5 times in a row. I swear I was sitting here and I was pushing the appropriate buttons at the correct time. It just wasn't working because there was nothing live for everything to stick to. Yeah. So anyhow, it is Me More Monday, and it's going to be a very special Let's Go Brandon edition. Yay, yay indeed. Chris is handling some family stuff, so I get to sit in the big chair, as it were, which excites me. I have control issues, so yeah. We're gonna jump straight into it. There's two pieces to this. We've gone from the meme warrior in chief, that was Trump, to the meme in chief, because, golly, Joe Biden, everything from, my butt's been wiped to, pay them more, pay them more. And maybe possibly a thing with a diary that I'm not going to get into because I don't want the FBI to kick in Chris's back door here, but there's a thing with the diary and the FBI, and it's a little weird. And what's unfortunate about it is it's the kind of thing where like you could kind of maybe almost sort of believe it, because that family's weird. Like anyhow, we're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. Where we are gonna go is we're gonna start with the whole climate change thing. The summit, as it were. So, Joe Biden asleep at climate summit sparks wave of criticism and sympathy. Oh my. Oh my. President Joe Biden was seen on camera appearing to fall asleep during a United Nations climate change summit, prompting both criticism and sympathy. A video posted on Twitter by Zach Purser Brown, a reporter with the Washington Post, showed the president closing his eyes for about 20 seconds during the opening speeches of the COP26 summit in Glasgow, Scotland on Monday. An aide is seen approaching the president, who then opens his eyes and claps as the speech ends. The video soon went viral and has been viewed more than 4.6 million times as of early Tuesday. Some criticized the president for the optics of the moment, but others expressed sympathy for the president's jet-lagged state. He arrived in Glasgow after meeting with a group of 20 leaders in Rome. America's in crisis and Joe Biden is asleep at the wheel. House Republicans said in a tweet, "Geez, not the best look when you're trying to tell the world to wake up." Oh, Piers Morgan. Oh. Look, here's the deal. First of all, let's see. Good morning, Steve, Krista, Danielle, Megan, and Chris, who's... Yes, Chris, closing his eyes, he fell the fuck asleep. If anybody knows fell the fuck asleep, it's this guy. Yes, Chris can nap sitting straight up. It's both amazing and obnoxious at the same time. So I wanted to touch on this, really, for one main reason. There's another meme that I've seen several versions of passed around the interwebs that basically says, we've all had to do Zoom meetings for the past couple of years. You think the climate change thing would be the perfect thing for a Zoom meeting. And for some time now, there's been the criticism of the limousine liberal, and in particular, every time this climate change summit happens and all these rich and powerful people fly their jets to the climate change summit, it's always like, okay, all right, so the rest of us little people, we need to check our carbon footprint, but you rich and powerful people get to keep flying your jets. The hypocrisy, I mean, it's hard for me to not go extremely hyperbolic because the hypocrisy is so hypocritical that, like, it inverts back in on itself. It's like that Ouroboros snake, only instead of eating itself and crushing itself down to infinity, it expands to infinity. Like, for real. Why do this? Well, I've got a theory on why they do this, and it goes back to propaganda. In a rant from Razorfist a few days ago, he takes on the black pillars and the accelerationists really hard, and I happen to agree with him. You accelerationist types, you can miss me with your nonsense. I am not interested in helping the enemy accelerate their plans. Like, if the whole point is to collapse civilization so they can rule in perpetuity as an oligarchy, no thank you. I don't want to help them collapse civilization. No. But he pointed out in that video, and this is important, that the purpose of propaganda is not to convince you, but to break you, to keep you in line. And I think this in particular, where they fly to some exotic location to discuss climate change, is that exactly. It is meant to be demoralizing. The problem is, now you've got the added layer of everything that's happened with COVID over the past couple of years, where, like, people have postponed weddings. People have not been able to visit family members who are old. People have not been able to visit young family members. There are people that are terrified to let you go anywhere near their brand new baby. And look, I don't say this flippantly, okay? I have a child who's had COVID. I have a brother who's had COVID, okay? And spoiler alert, they're fine. They don't have a lot of comorbidities, so they came through it the other side, all right? But for the longest time now, it feels like basically forever, we're told, oh, stay home. If you want to share a glass of wine with your friends, no problem. Pull up the Zoom meeting, you open your wine bottle on your side, and you open your wine bottle on your side, and then bang, it's almost like you're there in the same room with each other. And of course, it's not. It's horseshit. Human beings are social animals, and the fact that we have been unable to socialize as normal has been terrible for all of us. And I think in particular, it's been the hardest on the kids. Like all the kids that were told, oh no, don't worry about it. You're just going to pass all your classes this year anyway. Yeah, what a terrible lesson to teach the children, because that's not how the real world works. You know, try that shit with your job. Just as an example. Oh, no, don't worry about it. You're still going to pay me. I mean, I'm not going to complete the work, but you're still going to pay me. Oh, so. But I just wanted to touch on that because Joe Biden falling asleep at a climate summit that the rest of us would not be able to attend, that they would, in fact, tell us to Zoom meeting into as opposed to going to, is just, I mean, it is deliberately demoralizing, okay? It's not that they don't care. They do care. They want to break you, okay? They want for you to give up, to be black-pilled. I'm becoming more and more convinced that your friends that are like hardcore right-wingers that have stopped eating red pills and started eating black pills, I really believe that is the plan of the enemy. They don't want you to fight back anymore. And that's the thing with the black pillars, is that they've stopped fighting back. And this is meant to club you over the head and get you to eat those black pills and like them and like them. Okay, now for the other thing. This is... Oh, yes. Now for the other thing. Here we go. It's me, I'm Mario. All right. So, I was talking to some friends of mine last week, and they were very upset because, you know, Joe Biden waved his magic wand and said, hey, guess what? if your company has more than 100 employees, you have a vaccine mandate now, buddy. And I'm going to like do a super secret squirrely ninja trick and use OSHA and get OSHA to enforce these regulations. Aha, see? I'm brilliant. I've got it all figured out, and now there's a vaccine mandate. And I predicted pretty quickly, I said, look, this will never stick. This is the kind of thing that would have to start with the Congress. This has, as far as I'm concerned, this has no legs whatsoever if it doesn't originate with the legislature. And even if Congress were to pass a law mandating some kind of vaccine, I still don't think it would be constitutional. I still think it would end up in front of the Supreme Court and would probably get struck down because there's elements of discrimination. Like, okay, fine, your business has 101 employees. What makes a magical difference between 99 employees and 101 employees? What, are the 99 employees less likely to transmit the virus in an unsafe environment? But the 101, it's like when you walk into the restaurants that are still making you mask up, which thankfully here in Georgia is not terribly common. Thank God. But the restaurants that are making you mask up, the joke about, well, I'm standing up, the virus can attack me. But as soon as I sit down at the table, the mask is no longer necessary because it can't get me once you go below 5 feet. And YouTube, this is a joke. This is satire. This is not medical advice. Don't give us that banhammer thing, okay? So, anyhow, in true Let's Go Brandon fashion, Joe Biden passes this mandate, which, I mean, and it didn't take very long. An appeals court has halted the COVID vaccine mandate for larger businesses. A federal appeals court on Saturday temporarily halted the Biden administration COVID-19 vaccine requirement for businesses with 100 or more workers. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals granted an emergency stay of the requirement by the Federal Occupation of Safety and Health Administration, as in OSHA, that those workers be vaccinated by January 4th or face mask requirements and weekly tests. Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry said the action stops the Democratic President Joe Biden from moving forward with his unlawful overreach. The president will not impose medical procedures on the American people without the checks and balances afforded by the Constitution, said a statement from Landry, a Republican. Solicitor of Labor Seema Nandi said that the U.S. Department of Labor is confident in its legal authority to issue the emergency temporary standard on vaccination and testing. OSHA has the authority to act quickly in an emergency where the agency finds that workers are subjected to a grave danger and a new standard is necessary to protect them. Okay, so that's kind of the first. I already discussed the discrimination aspect, but this is the second aspect of it, okay? OSHA, in theory, and I've got a lot of experience with OSHA. I did pest control for years, and OSHA's all up in that business, okay? And for better or worse, rightly so, pest control is inherently dangerous. Like, the same pesticides that can kill rats can kill you, So there's reasons for it. Not that I want more federal government. Don't get it twisted. Just, it's what they supposedly exist for. So, if this vaccine mandate really was such a health crisis, the whole thing about how, you've got to have a vaccine mandate, but we're going to delay it until January. Well, that's not really much of a crisis, is it? Hey, that construction site over there, it's super dangerous, okay? People are going to, die if we don't change the working conditions at that construction site. But you've got, 60 days before you have to change the working conditions at that construction site. It doesn't make any sense, at all. If it's really that dangerous, it goes into effect immediately. All right? And again, I'm not real sure I'm comfortable with the federal government having that much authority. In fact, I'm really not comfortable with the federal government having that much authority. But assuming that the federal government having that authority is a good thing in circumstances such as these, The point of changing the rules of OSHA would be to stop an immediate threat. And if what you're talking about is hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people catching a disease and dying if they're not vaccinated, you would think that would go into play right away. And yet it does not. So that's kind of the first issue here that that should be touched. And I'm so sorry to everybody in the chat that I'm basically ignoring. Like, I love you all. You guys are amazing. I see Sean Stryker and Steve Rodemeyer and other folks are over there chatting with each other. Y'all, you know, this is a lot easier to do when Chris is here, because one of us can watch one thing and the other one can watch the other thing. So, sorry, but I'm glad y'all are here. Okay, so, to move on. Such circuit decisions normally apply to states within a district, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas in this case, but Landry said the language employed by the judges gave the decision a national scope. This is a great victory for the American people out there. Never before has the federal government tried in such a forceful way to get between the choices of an American citizen and their doctor. To me, that's the heart of the entire issue. And I'm going to stop off right there, because something that a friend of mine pointed out to me, and this cannot be overstated. The same party that says my body, my choice, when they want to kill babies in the womb, that party. And look, and not just my body, my choice, but they insist on it being a right that can be subsidized by your tax dollars. Like, hey, left wing, let's operate under a compromise and see how well that works. Going forward, you can continue to have your abortions. Just don't ever ask me to pay for it or even be okay with it. Let's try that, okay? So the same party that is my body, my choice, now suddenly is like, except for this vaccine. Ha, right? You don't have a choice anymore. In fact, not only do you not have a choice, but it's a moral issue. You take this vaccine or you're a bad person. What, do you want grandma to die? Yeah, same party. So, I guess here's what I was kind of leading into with that. There's the whole HIPAA thing. Like, medicine of all types is weird, in the sense that, like, we all know that we go to the doctor. You know, we all know that women go to the OBGYN, for example. And yet, there's an element of discretion that goes into that process. If human beings, for whatever reason, seem to be embarrassed by their medical conditions. So that whole privacy in medicine and in mental health as well is important. Because if I can walk into my doctor's office and say, Doc, I have the thing. I don't know what causes the thing. I'm embarrassed about the thing. I want to cure or treat the thing. What do we do? Well, because your doctor is required by law to keep that information private, you can have an honest conversation with him. This, with the vaccine mandates, like, just on its face, before we get into the discrimination aspect or any of that, like, I don't understand how it doesn't violate HIPAA on its face. Like, there's no more medical privacy if this goes through. It's not just an overreach of the federal government's power generally. It's an overreach of the federal government's power very specifically. Look, folks, guys like me have been saying for a long time that universal health care is a terrible idea for many reasons, but one of the reasons why universal health care is a terrible idea is you have to cede all medical decisions that you would normally make, maybe by yourself, or maybe in consultation with a priest or a spouse or your children or your parents or whatever. All of those things, you give that power to the federal government. And please believe, these same people that are saying healthcare is a right Well, their more extreme fringes are starting to say things like, well, if you don't get the vaccine, maybe you should be last in line for healthcare. Oh, well, if you don't get the vaccine and you get sick, maybe you don't get an ICU bed. We had an episode that I'm only going to somewhat reference where we talked about death panels and how this is the kind of thing that can morph into death panels. And I won't go too far into it because I don't want us to get another strike. But suffice it to say, this is how the attitude will shift. If this goes through and you have to have the vaccine mandate, as in like you have to have the mark of the beast in order to trade in society, it won't stop there. There will be other things, and please believe it will apply to everything from how you raise your children, to how many guns you have in your home, to what you eat for breakfast, how many cigarettes you do or do not smoke. All of that will come into play. Okay? This is just the tester, as it were. All right, we're coming up on time. I'm going to try and get through just a little bit more of this article and put a button on the show. Okie dokie. At least 27 states filed lawsuits challenging the rule in several circuits, some of which were made more conservative by the judicial appointments of former Republican President Donald Trump. Boy, that sentence is there just for color, isn't it? So, here's what I would say. The 23 states that haven't sued. The fuck is wrong with you? I mean, I understand why Hawaii, California, and New York haven't sued, because they're Hawaii, California, and New York. But, like, the rest of you, what the hell? The Biden administration has been encouraging widespread vaccinations as the quickest way to end the pandemic that has claimed more than 750,000 lives in the United States. Okay. You know what? I'm going to stop it right there. And I'm going to end on just a question. I'm writing the handrails of YouTube, as it were, grinding right on the edge. So, Jen Psaki got COVID, right? And look, she's an evil soul sucking ginger, like terribly. Okay, she's like Kayleigh McEnany, but whatever, the hot press secretary that Donald Trump had. She's a lot like her, only she's not hot, and she's not as entertaining. Like like I'd say she's Kayleigh light, but that's anyhow. She has COVID, and apparently there are members in her family that have COVID, and I don't actually want her to have COVID. I don't want her children to have COVID. I don't want her husband to have COVID. That's not the point. That is not the point. But the point is, I just want to reference that very last line that I read in the article. The Biden administration has been encouraging widespread vaccinations as the quickest way to end the pandemic that has claimed more than 750,000 lives in the United States. She's part of the Biden administration, right? Presumably she's been vaccinated, and she wears masks, and she follows all the protocols that are supposed to be followed. How did she get COVID? I mean, right? How did she get COVID? She does everything that the administration says the rest of us stupid little people should do, so we won't get COVID. But she got COVID. Now again, YouTube, this is just a question, okay? I'm not making any suggestions. There's no medical advice going on here, nothing. I very deliberately didn't contradict any of the numbers in the article that was referenced, that I read. I'm just saying, if this is how we beat COVID, how did Jen Psaki get COVID? And she was exposed to the president. I mean, within, I want to say the time window was as short as 48 hours from her positive COVID diagnosis. And just to bring it back just one more time, okay? Because forever it is reasonable to compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump, and this is where I'm going to end it. I'm just going to make the point. When Donald Trump got COVID, oh, Trump was so irresponsible, and man, an orange man, bad, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. If he wasn't such an asshole and followed the science, he probably wouldn't get COVID. But when Jen Psaki gets COVID and gets right around the president, for better or worse, the former vice president occupies the office of the president. But when Jen Psaki gets COVID, and again, it's weird. How did Jen Psaki get COVID? How did that happen? It's not the same thing at all. It's not that the Biden administration's irresponsible or incorrect or whatever. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But look, it's Me More Monday. That's the show. This was all my idea. It was a special Let's Go Brandon edition where I just wanted to hit on a couple of the things that are meme in chief, butt wipe in chief, the Brandon in chief, God, it could just go on and on and on. And Joe Biden was a walking meme factory before he got dementia. Okay? We live in bizarro land. But that's the show. Me More Monday. We love you guys. Really, indeed. Like, share, subscribe, all the good things. And have a good day.